Full Young and the Restless spoilers. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel for another deep dive into the absolute madness of Genoa City. It is a fantastic day to talk about soap operas, especially when the writers drop a bombshell episode like they just did today. Let's jump right into the chaos because we have a lot of ground to cover. And honestly, you guys, I just can't even begin to wrap my head around what we just watched on the May 14th episode of The Young and the Restless. So let's just dive right into it because I am still shaking a little bit from that incredibly intense scene at the ranch. You know the exact scene I'm talking about. Nick Newman walking into his father's house, not as the golden boy, not as the moral compass of the family, but as someone completely different. He was cold. He was calculated. And he was sounding exactly like Victor Newman. I mean, what were the writers thinking? Who actually believes this is going to end well for anyone involved? But at the same time, I am so incredibly here for it. It's just wild to see Nick cross this line and completely abandon who he used to be. So let's talk about the actual plan that Nick laid out because it is genuinely terrifying. He didn't just walk in and scream about how much he hates Matt Clark. That would be normal Nick. Normal Nick gets mad, throws a punch, maybe breaks a glass against a wall, and then goes to Crimson Lights to brood over a coffee. But not today. Today, Nick calmly explained that he wants to provoke Matt into attacking him. And not just anywhere. He wants to do it right in front of Detective Burrow. He wants a cop to be the star witness to his self-defense killing. Let that sink in for a second. He is planning a premeditated murder and dressing it up as a tragic accident of self-defense. It's brilliant, it's twisted, and it is so incredibly dark. He just didn't care. He didn't care about the law. He didn't care about the optics. He only cared about eliminating the threat. And Victor's reaction. Oh my God, Victor's reaction was everything. You guys know Victor, the mustache. The man who has locked people in dungeons, manipulated elections, faked deaths, and basically played God in Genoa City for decades without breaking a sweat. But sitting there, listening to his own son calmly plot a murder, Victor looked absolutely rattled. I don't think I've ever seen him look so genuinely disturbed by one of his kids. Usually, Victor is the one pushing his kids to be more ruthless. He's always telling Nick to step up, to protect the family at all costs, to stop being so soft and emotional. Well, congratulations, Victor. You got exactly what you wanted, but seeing it in the flesh. Seeing Nick completely discard his morals, it clearly terrified him. He realized in that exact moment that Nick is having a complete and total psychological breakdown. But the absolute best part of this entire scene, the part that had me literally screaming at my screen, was when Nick threw it all right back in Victor's face. Victor tried to caution him, tried to pull him back from the edge, and Nick just looked at him and pointed out the glaringly obvious truth. Victor raised him to think this way. Victor spent Nick's entire life teaching him that the Newman family comes first, that the rules don't apply to them, and that threats must be neutralized before they can hurt the family. Nick is just finally following the family playbook to the letter, and Victor had no comeback. He had absolutely nothing to say because he knows Nick is right. That moment completely shifted the power dynamic between them forever. Victor can no longer separate Nick's dark, unhinged behavior from the toxic environment he himself created. It's a classic Frankenstein and his monster situation, and it is glorious television. We also have to talk about the elephant in the room here, which is the drugs. The timeline from the last few episodes makes it very clear that Nick is still using. He's been spiraling with the fentanyl and the cocaine. And we know that addiction completely rewires your brain. So is this dark, calculating Nick the real Nick, or is this the drugs talking? Honestly, I think it's a terrifying mix of both. The drugs are stripping away his inhibitions and his anxiety about the consequences, leaving only this raw, obsessive need to protect his family from Matt Clark. He's brushing off any concerns about going to prison. He's brushing off the reality of his addiction. His entire world has narrowed down to one single goal: kill Matt Clark. And when someone gets that intensely focused, especially someone with Newman resources, they are incredibly dangerous. For years, Nick has been the one brother who stood on the moral high ground. He was the one who judged Adam for his dark deeds. He was the one who constantly walked away from Newman Enterprises because he couldn't stomach Victor's ruthless tactics. Even when Nick made mistakes, and boy has he made a lot of them over the years, he always tried to convince himself that he had boundaries. There were lines he just wouldn't cross, but those lines, they are completely gone now, erased. It's like watching a completely different character, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense. How much trauma can one guy take before he just snaps? Matt Clark has pushed this family, and Nick specifically, to the absolute brink. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Nick. I mean, Matt is a literal psychopath who poisons people and fakes amnesia. Okay, that sounded dramatic, but you get what I mean. If someone came after my family like that, maybe I'd lose my mind too. The fans on social media are completely divided on this, by the way. I was scrolling through Twitter right after the episode aired, and half the fandom is cheering Nick on. They're saying it's about time he stopped being a victim and took control. They want to see Matt Clark pay for everything he has done. But the other half, they are terrified for Nick. They're saying the writers are destroying his character. What were they thinking? Why turn the one good Newman brother into a cold-blooded killer? But honestly, I think it's brilliant. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it forces us to ask really hard questions about these characters we've loved for years. Sometimes you have to burn a character down to the ground to rebuild them, and right now, Nick Newman is completely engulfed in flames. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger pattern here. This fits the show's usual style of pushing the Newmans to their absolute limits, but this storyline feels different. It feels heavier. Usually, when Victor does something terrible, there's a sense of invincibility. We know Victor will get away with it because he's Victor. But Nick doesn't have that same Teflon coating. If Nick actually goes through with this, if he actually murders Matt Clark in cold blood, even with Detective Burrow standing right there, I don't think Nick survives the guilt. The drugs are numbing him right now, but what happens when he gets clean? What happens when the fog lifts and he realizes he took a human life, not in the heat of the moment, but in a calculated, premeditated plot? It's going to destroy him. It will absolutely shatter whatever is left of his soul. And that brings me back to Victor. This whole situation is forcing Victor into a massive internal crisis. He's watching his son fall apart, but he's also watching a dark reflection of himself. Every time Nick spoke in that scene, Victor was hearing his own words echoed back at him. It's poetic justice in a way, but it's also deeply tragic. Victor has always wanted a successor who understood the harsh realities of the world, but he never wanted it to cost his children their humanity. He loves Nick. In his own twisted, overbearing way, Victor truly loves his son. And seeing Nick so broken, so willing to throw his life away just to eliminate a threat, it's breaking Victor's heart. I never thought I'd feel sorry for Victor Newman, but here we are. I'm actually feeling bad for the guy. Mild inconsistencies in my own feelings, I know, but I can't help it. The acting in that scene was just that good. And honestly, what is Sharon going to do when she finds out? We know Sharon has been through the ringer lately. She was chained up in that gas station with Noah. She watched Nick collapse from those poison drugs. She is already living a nightmare. So if she figures out that Nick is now plotting a premeditated murder, she might actually break. She has always been Nick's anchor in a lot of ways. But right now, Nick doesn't want an anchor. He wants a weapon. He wants blood. And he is so blinded by this need for revenge that he is completely ignoring the fact that if he goes to prison for murder, he is abandoning Sharon and Noah all over again. It just makes me so mad to think about it. Like, Nick, come on. Think about your family, but he isn't. He's only thinking about Matt. So what happens next? Does Nick actually pull it off? Does Matt Clark fall for the bait? Matt is crazy, but he's not stupid. He's currently playing this whole fake amnesia game, pretending he doesn't know who anyone is. But if Nick pushes the right buttons, especially with Burrow watching, Matt's temper might just get the better of him. But there are so many wild cards. What if Adam finds out? Adam has been trying to save Nick, and if he sees Nick going down this path, he might try to intervene. It's just so chaotic. Everything is so chaotic right now, and I am typing this so fast because my brain is just spinning with all the possibilities. I just really hope the writers don't back out of this at the last second. You know how they do sometimes. They build up this massive, dark storyline and then at the last minute, someone steps in and saves the day. Or it was all a dream, or some other cop-out. Please, why aren't our writers, if you are listening, commit to this? Let Nick go dark. Let him face the consequences of this drug addiction and this obsession. Let Victor deal with the guilt of creating a monster. It's the best material we've had in years, and we need to see it play out. Okay, I'm rambling now, and I really need to go get some coffee and process everything that just happened. But seriously, you guys, let me know what you think. Is Nick completely gone? Can Victor save him? Does Matt Clark deserve what's coming to him? I honestly don't even know anymore. I just know I'll be glued to my screen tomorrow. Until then, stay restless, my friends.